Hello, friends. My name is Kayla Tychsen, and I am a conscious parenting coach. And I'm super excited to go live with Eli Harwood today. Let me just, okay, here we go. There we go. All right.
Hello!
Oh, it is so wonderful to talk with you. Thank you so much for taking
Thank you for
time.
having me. It's so good to see you.
Yeah.
We need to talk about very briefly that I have like a positive relationship with both of the words in your title because one, Montessori, my kids are in Montessori and my son was in Montessori. So my twins are in Montessori preschool and my son also went through that. So I just have like a love of that tradition and the thinking and all of that. But two is that expat is a so did you freeze? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I'm
You're back.
back. We had a power outage, but we're good to go.
Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't me. I was going to move closer to my router. So anyway, my mom grew up in Hong Kong. So my mom is a third culture kid. And then my husband also grew up in Germany and Holland and the US. So he has the same third culture kid vibes. And then I, at the beginning of my career, worked in South Korea for a couple of years and supported the expat community there. So like you're my people.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's so beautiful to know. Well, we're currently in Lebanon and we occasionally have power outages. So there you go.
Love it.
That's real
We'll work
life.
with it. Love it.
I am just so grateful for everything you put out into the world. You just have a gift for taking these complicated sciencey things and boiling them down to make them tangible and readable. And so thank you so much for everything. And then thank you for your new book, which is just absolutely beautiful and full of such nuggets.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so glad to hear that.
yeah, I really appreciated it. And, actually, another thing that we have in common too, before we get into some questions that I'd love to ask you, congratulations on becoming the executive director at Jai.
Oh,
So I am
you.
glad, and so we're so
Amazing.
have you. So yeah,
So fun. I love that. Well, it's
yeah.
so in line with my work, just being attachment informed and connection related and having boundaries still and recognizing the importance of structure. Like we just really align. So I love that.
Yeah. Yes. And thank you so much again for taking the time. Yeah, so I had a few questions that I'd love to ask you. Some of these things are questions that come up in comments on my skills and those kinds of things. So I'd love to
Yes. I
hear
love
some
that.
thoughts. Yeah. So one question that I had, I'd love to hear you share. Oh, and there goes the power. Um, hear you share. So I think we hear this term attachment parenting a lot.
Yes.
Um, and obviously your book is called Raising Securely Attached Kids Using Connection Focused Parenting to Create Confidence, Empathy, and Resilience. And I'd love to hear from you, is attachment theory and attachment parenting, like, are those the same thing? Where do those differ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. They're not. So when we talk about secure attachment or attachment research or attachment science, we're talking about the study of the relationship between a parent and a child and the quality of that relationship and the way that a parent thinks about needs and emotions and how that impacts what they do in response to their child and how that affects the child's development. Attachment parenting is a phrase that was coined by an individual doctor. His name's Dr. William Sears, in the 2000s. And he was giving clinical recommendations based on his impressions in his clinic. So it wasn't based on the attachment research, it was based on what he had seen. And while his recommendations are not hurtful to attachment, they aren't necessary for secure attachment, and they aren't possible for all mothers. So that's one like kind of beef I have with his stuff. So basically he's all about baby wearing, babies never having their feet hit the floor, I think is something he said, or someone around him said. Baby wearing, co-sleeping, so sleeping in the same bed as our kids, and breastfeeding. Well, those three things are not all possible for all parents. And for a lot of various reasons, we could like dig into each one of them. But our children do need proximity to us. They need connection with us. But it doesn't have to be check, 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 you're following Dr. Sears' recommendations. And there's no research correlating between those two things. So we don't have anything that says babies who are breastfed, slept in their parents' beds, and were worn in baby carriers a lot are more secure later on in life. It's far more about the mindsets that a parent holds about relationships and needs.
Interesting. Thanks so much for sharing and clarifying that. And I'm curious if you could actually do all of those things that he suggests. I think he calls them like the B's. I don't know if it's five.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Breastfeeding, bed sharing, baby wearing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do all those things and maybe actually miss the mark and not actually the things that are actually building attachment, which
you can breastfeed and not be emotionally attuned. You can bed share and have a lot of anxiety, and your kids absorb that from you. I breastfed all my kids because I was able to and I wanted to. I had the time and the privilege that allowed me that. It was also hard, and I know like survivors of sexual abuse who are like, that's just a no for me. I cannot do that. I'm like, cool, you do you. That bottle is full of nourishment. It will take care of your child. And I also loved wearing my babies around. I loved it honestly because I'm like a productivity junkie. Like I'm like, I need to empty the dishwasher. And so like you want me, and so you're gonna have to be here, and I'm gonna go on a hike while you nap, and I'm gonna do whatever. But I also like laid my kids on a blanket on the floor and let them crawl around and eat dirt and like do all the things that, they needed to do to grow and explore away from me and my body. And I never bed shared because I am the type of person that does not want to be touched when I'm sleeping. And by never bed shared, I mean, I never intended to bed share. Of course, my kids ended up in my bed at different times and seasons, and when they were sick, and they still do. But they also have their own beds. And that, it's very American. That's a very American thing, but I am very American. And my kids are fine. They're doing great. They're all very secure, I believe. The jury's out on that one. We won't really know for sure till they're adults later on. They can kind of give their own conclusions. But I mean, they exhibit all the patterns of secure attachment. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense and is really helpful, I think, to differentiate what your book is really about and what secure attachment is really about. So I get a ton of comments about kind of this misunderstanding of parenting styles and kind of seeing this what I think you call connection-based parenting.
Yep.
As permissive, seeing it as permissive parenting, and these questions of well, you're not setting boundaries, you're not disciplining, you're not punishing, and we can talk about that. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the differences between what you call connection-based or connection-focused parenting, permissive or permissive parenting.
I love this. So permissive parenting means I, as a caregiver, am not able to tolerate what my children feel. And so when my child feels something, I change the boundaries in response to what they feel. Now, listen, we all have to do that sometimes. Like sometimes our kid is feeling something legitimate. We're like, oh crap, my boundary is off. I need to change my boundary. Like that's legit. But if our child's emotional responses to things are the primary way we make our parenting decisions, that's where we've landed into permissive territory. And that's not secure, because if I am allowing my child in their immature emotional development to make the calls, they can sense that I'm not sturdy enough to trust or rely on for actual guidance as life goes on, right? So, when someone is allowing their child to do whatever it is they want because they're upset when the parent says no, that's permissive. Um, and when I say permissive parenting, like as a whole, it'd be like that'd be like the primary pattern. We're all permissive sometimes, like that happens, of course. but permissive as the primary pattern is where it becomes a problem, right? And on the flip side of that, would be control-based parenting, where the primary thing we're trying to do is we're trying to make ourselves feel constantly in control. So we don't want our child to be constantly in control. We don't want us to feel like we're trying to be constantly in control. What we want to be doing is going, what are the goals we have for our children? What do we want them to gain as a result of being parented by us? And how do we effectively create the structure in our world to help them do those things, as well as the nurture in our relationship to help them trust the structure we built? So like, for instance, my kids have to brush their teeth 2 times a day because it's important to me that they have proper dental hygiene, right? That they have healthy teeth, because teeth go a long way in a lifetime, right? They're helpful for building friends, eating food, all the things. My kids don't want to brush their teeth 2 times a day. If I was to let their emotional reactions to teeth brushing determine how often they brush their teeth, they would brush their teeth once a month when I bought them new toothpaste, right? So it's my job as a parent to have compassion and say, you really don't want to brush your teeth, and to be creative. What are the things that I can do to help motivate my child to do what they need to do so that they can create a habit or an understanding, or they can get to a place where they want to do the thing, right? And I've been all sorts of creative with teeth brushing. I talk about teeth brushing in the book too, because I think it comes up a lot. But it's like, sometimes I do change the toothpaste. Sometimes we have a fun toothbrush. Oh my gosh, I keep giving the thumbs up. It's cracking me up. That's how I count. I always start with one at my thumb. I'll start with my pinky. Sometimes we act like animals, with my 10-year-old, who's like way more mature and old. I don't know why I called him 10. He's 9.5. I always round up. Anyway, with my 9.5-year-olds, I am able to use more of like logic and reasoning, where I say, like, listen, it's really important that you brush your teeth, because when we brush our teeth, it helps prevent plaque buildup, and plaque buildup is what gives us cavities, and cavities cost money, and cavities are uncomfortable, and they don't ever go away. And then in the long term, they can lead to root canal. Like, we can have that discussion, and he can go, fine, I'll brush my teeth, or he can say, Mom, I really hate that toothpaste. And I can be like, oh, well, let's look for a toothpaste that doesn't feel so uncomfortable in your mouth, blah, blah, blah. With my younger kids, it's like, that's not gonna work. And so it's like, we're gonna pretend to be lions brushing our teeth. Or sometimes I let them brush my teeth while I brush theirs, and let me tell you all, it's not fun. So I also have compassion for them. I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Someone's sticking like a hard bristly thing into your mouth. So we're gonna be creative, we're gonna be compassionate, but we're also gonna be consistent with the structures we create to help keep them safe, healthy, and developing.
That's so good. That's such a good framework to, talk about boundaries with.
Good.
So yeah, I think
I'm
that
so
makes
glad.
and so I think one pattern that I've seen people share about is this idea that there's so much pressure nowadays on parents and on getting
Yes.
it right.
Yes.
And I mean, on one hand, like, wow, it is a huge responsibility. We are raising a human being. And
Yes.
wow. But also, we have flaws. We have things that we're
Yes.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, is it about being perfect in our parenting? Is it, do we need to basically be perfect parents to raise securely attached kids? Like,
No, no, no,
what?
no, no, no.
Tell us. Tell
Okay,
us.
so one of my favorite kind of phrases is from an old English object relations theorist. You don't need to look it up, Winnicott, but he talked about this thing he noticed in his patients, which was like, nobody had perfect parents, but the people who had what he called good enough parents had a really different trajectory in their ability to be resilient in the face of life's struggles and suffering. And so our goal is not to be perfect. In fact, if our goal is to be perfect, we will be anxious. And then we will absolutely get in the way of the secure dynamic our kids need from us. So perfectionism is a form of insecurity that we need to really look out for. Instead, we want to be the type of parents who can tolerate our humanness, laugh about it a little, apologize for it, make repairs when we're off course, be learners. I mean, I think there are definitely people who have nerded out on this more than me, but probably not a ton. And even in knowing all the things, I am a human being. My kids can get my dander up and I can get off course and I can get distracted. Like, I'm human. And so it's not, for me, it's not about being like, I know everything and I need to know it and I know how to do it. It's more like, I'm going to have these core things that I'm going to know in my heart that I return to. And I'm going to be a lifelong learner in this journey because my kids are unique. They've never existed before. No, there is no parenting book on my middle child because she's new to the world, right? Or my youngest or my oldest. So I'm going to be working on figuring out how can I continue to learn without being harsh with myself, while being compassionate. See it as a longer term journey and not a destination.
Yeah, that's so good. So,
Oh, thank you for that question.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it's just helpful to hear, that it's not about being perfect, and uh, really is about, having kind of these core basics and values and
Yes.
pressing into that. And I love what you said about apologizing and being able to also laugh at ourselves and our mistakes and our craziness. And
Yes.
so, so good. So
My
important.
husband is out of town. He's on a trip with his best friend, which is like the best. He deserves it so much. It makes me so happy. He went to Bulgaria. Anyway,
Oh,
but so he's out of town. And so I've been with my kids solo for like 6 days now. We got 6 more days. And at some point we were having this like massive meltdown out and about in the van, and everyone was just, I mean, it was like we just could not get it together. And my reactions were so absent of compassion. Like, I just was flooded. I just was annoyed and flooded. And at the end of the day, my son had this meltdown where he was like, I miss dad. And like, he had already been talking about missing his dad, and of course he misses him. And then I just took the moment and I go, it really hasn't helped that mom had zero buffer today and was kind of a grouch puss. And he goes, no, it's not that. And I looked at him and I go, it's okay, honey. I really was just not patient today. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, you weren't. And it's like, it's okay. Like, I didn't ruin my children. I just was having a day and I was just over it. Um, that memory will stick with him very differently with me owning it than with me not owning it. And honestly, kids tend to take on responsibility for our behavior if we don't own it. They tend to take it on as like they were bad or they did something wrong or they were burdensome. And so, you know, we get to be the kind of parent that just goes, sorry, I was a real jerk just then. I'm really sorry. Or like, ooh, I overreacted or I was anxious. And it's not like, sorry, will you forgive me? That's not helpful. It's like, sorry, it's okay you have feelings about this. And I'm not crumbling on myself.
yeah, it's so good. I think too, when we're able to like just own it and like be okay with it, it
Yep.
also is going to help them be okay with making mistakes too,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
well, and also say like, yes, I'm not perfect, I made a mistake, and it's okay. I'm, for them, they're not.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, and I love that resilience is such a key part of your book as well, because man, in the world we live in today, like our kids are gonna need it. They already do. They need that
There's a lot.
resilience.
There's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Totally. Oh, I love your spirit. I just love, and I love how, like, it's just so obvious how much you care about people and their relationships to their kids and kids in general. It's very sweet.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it has definitely become a passion of mine, and I'm so grateful for people like you who
Oh,
also are doing this with their lives. And so,
Yep. We're doing
yeah,
this.
yeah.
We're doing this. Go
Uh,
team.
about um, about resilience, I'm just curious if there's any. I know your book has a whole chapter on it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any key takeaway that you could give parents here on like fostering that resilience in their kids?
Yes, for kids to be resilient, they need this 1-2 combo. A deep sense that they have people there to support them when they're overwhelmed or things feel like unmanageable. So that's why we create that positive relationship. But also, they need opportunities to experience things, to start it and fail and figure it out. So resilience comes from, I know I have people who've got me. It's like people have got me. I also know that I can do it. I've got me. So we want to make sure that we're not overprotecting our kids from things that are challenging to them. A silly example would be like, kids get frustrated when they're trying to learn to like zip their jacket. And there's an instinct sometimes to just zip it for them because it's like, oh, this is like hard to watch. It's uncomfortable. They're getting frustrated. And we want to stand back and we want to say, oh, this is hard. You're having a hard time. You're frustrated. We want to let them continue to try to do it because that moment when it zips is an incredible moment for them. And it helps them learn that growing and learning involves struggling and sometimes even failing. And so they get less into that depressive, like hopelessness when life becomes hard because they have a sense that the struggle is a part of the process.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make sure you're there saying, I got you. And also make sure you're saying, you got this. I
Yeah.
got you and you got this.
Yeah, that's so good. And there's a phrase in Montessori, never help a child with a task that they think they can
Yes.
succeed. Um,
Mm,
and I feel like that's just such a
it
key part.
is.
Like just
That's hard. And that, honestly, that's a natural struggle for me. Like, I'm a rescuer, I'm a doer. Like, I raised my parents in a lot of ways. So, like, when I see someone struggling, there is an instinct to help. It's like I want to help. And I've had to really work on that as a parent, to step back and stand by
yeah,
instead of standing in. Stand by, don't stand in.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah, so good. Well, man, there's so many things I would love to ask, but I think, yeah, just maybe to end on a note of, kind of going back to how, we're not perfect, we're gonna mess up,
Mm-hmm.
and also bring our own childhood experiences and
Yep.
our trauma with
Yep.
us
Yep.
parenting.
Yes.
And I talk about some of the things that helped you in your book. I also, yeah, I'm just curious because, so many people, I did a poll like last week or a couple weeks ago, and everyone that answered the poll said that they had struggled or do struggle with anxiety. Um,
Oh,
and I just thought, like, wow, like there are so many of us, and I have struggled with this too, right? We've brought this into our
yep.
parenting. We're working on it, but I'd love to hear from you, especially maybe for people that like maybe they don't have access to therapy. Um,
Yep.
what what do you recommend? Because we know that, right? We do those things do impact our children and our
Yes.
relationship.
Yep. Well, okay, my first book is that. I wrote my first book for that exact reason. So if you haven't already gotten it, it's a guided workbook that will help you process what happened in your childhood, understand it, and then help you learn how to create secure adult relationships in your life so that you have people that you lean on. So as your kids are leaning on you, you have a more of a buffer in your nervous system because you've gotten more comfortable learning a secure attachment pattern with your partner or your sweetheart or your best friends or your siblings, like whoever it is in your life who are like your people. So go get that book. And, if you can't find a therapist to walk through it with you, at least make sure to tell like at least one close person in your life that you're doing that work and keep them updated about it so that you don't feel alone in it. Because it is important that we don't feel alone in that processing. Um, and then I would say if you can afford therapy and you can find a therapist you really like, which is key, who understands relationships and the relational nature of our traumas, then I would say do some therapy, work through that stuff. And, you know, a lot of it is just about re-understanding the things that happen to us with more compassion and grace for ourselves, and then letting the feelings out, which they come out in tears and boogers. It's like letting the salt out, and sometimes sweat. You know, it's pain leaves our bodies salty, in salt form. It just does. So yeah, I think uh, making sure that you do honor that you deserve to heal. And the more you heal what happened to you, the more instinctive and natural it will be to connect securely to your kids, because your brain and body will be able to differentiate between your past pain and their present experience. So yeah, and then go buy this book, Raising Securely Attached Kids. And if you're busy and you're tired and you're overwhelmed, I read the audiobook, so you can go get the audiobook and just listen to it. And there's also an ebook if you're in a country where you can't get the book shipped to you, because sometimes people have been having weird like distribution issues with, which is so annoying to me. I'm like, Amazon. But anyway, so if you can't get the paperback, there is an ebook and an audiobook. And yeah, I hope it's just deeply reassuring and helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to second that. I think it is reassuring and helpful. It's also so real and like just it's totally you.
Oh.
Like are just, so real in the way that you talk. And I was just reading a line that was referencing, a bum hole and like yes, like that, I, it's so good, so good. It's um you know, factual and scientific and has all the nerdy stuff, and also just it's so easy to read. And
Oh, I'm
I
so
appreciate
glad.
just you're adding your personal story to it. I think makes it so relatable. So thank you again so much
Thank you
for
for being a part of it and cheering me on and doing what you're doing, and yeah, just being another person in the world, like working to help people heal so the next generation, fingers crossed, has less baggage.
yeah,
I love that.
that is
Well,
so
thank you for having me. It was so good to be with
yeah,
you.
so much. And everyone here, if you do not have Eli's book, you have to go get it. Yeah,
You
it's
can
so good.
You can go to my profile. The link is in my profile. Or you can go to attachmentnerd.com/pre-order. It's not actually in pre-order anymore, but I haven't changed the website because life. And then you can also just go to Amazon or Google Raising Securely Attached Kids, Eli Harwood, and you'll find it. You should be able to order it.
It is so good. This is one that you definitely want to add to your bookshelf and actually read.
I know. I have so many books I need to read. That's my plan in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna like just sit and like go dark to the whole world except for to my books.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds lovely.
Right?
Enjoy.
Okay, I will. Mwah. Thank you for having me, my dear.
Thank you so
See
much.
you soon.
Bye.
Bye.